I started this drawing over 3 years ago. I had just built a new desk, and what better way is there to try it out than to draw on it? So I took my pencil to a fresh sheet of paper and drew. And after a while, I saw that I liked the drawing that was emerging. So I abandoned it. There was nothing necessarily special about this drawing. It wasn't all that original or innovative, so leaving it wouldn't have been much of a loss. But to me, when I recently found it again, it reflected to me a larger issue: my difficulty with finishing my personal projects. I decided to finish the drawing. And while doing that, I wanted to muse on what it is that's really fueling this struggle. Because while it's not difficult for me to finish things when there's external pressure, I wasn't satisfied with that as an explanation by itself. That would have just led to shallow solutions like set yourself a deadline or make a commitment to someone else, which can just as easily be ignored. I felt like the root cause was something deeper, and I wanted to understand it just as deeply. I wanted to feel it emotionally, viscerally, not just in my mind. Understanding why I act the way I do, and what my true, instinctual motivations are. So far, I think I've gained clarity on a lot of things, and more importantly, I sense that my attitude and my presence is changing toward myself and my work. A central concept I explored and wish to convey here is possibility, the potential inherent in all ideas, and what can happen when one gets obsessed with and protective of that potential. At the time when I put this drawing on hold, there were many directions where it could go, all mutually exclusive and equally interesting. Choosing any one path would doom the others, and I didn't trust myself to make that choice and see it through. I didn't want to ruin it. So I left it alone and eventually forgot about it. Part of the drawing's allure was exactly that tension. How it existed in my mind as many things at once. Any flaws in composition, any displeasing marks, any mistakes in lighting were ethereal and could be vanished with a thought. And while the beautiful images were also fleeting, they were immersive, and their quantity seemingly made up for that. But of course, those possibilities existed only in my mind, and only as long as I remembered them. For the work to have a definite existence, outside only just my imagination, those possibilities would have to collapse into one. Each idea is a seed. It contains the potential to be combined with an uncountable amount of other ideas to grow into something unique and interesting. That's why I think I grow attached to something as small and trivial as a little scribble or sketch. It's because that sketch could become something much more, and before I get around to realizing that potential, turning that sketch into a painting or sculpture or animation, there's another idea that needs to be saved and savored before it's gone forever. The way forward from this is to become aware that ideas are more than just the high-level concept of an artwork or project. Each work is composed of ideas all the way down to its smallest details. Every texture, every shape, every character and character arc, expression, line of dialogue, every conversation, every color, and color palette is an idea. They are all interesting in the same way. So the way to direct this fascination with ideas and potential is not to move sideways from one high-level concept to another, but to move down and deeper and explore the space of possibility to be found there. Stay deeply engaged with every aspect and level of a work. Explore it thoroughly, every part of it, so that in the end you suddenly notice that it's done. Ideas are precious to me. I love exploring them. I love collecting them. Ideas are dense, powerful, and mesmerizing. I love putting together ideas in harmonious patterns to the best of my ability, and I greatly enjoy noticing such patterns in other people's works, from paintings to films and games, and all other forms of art. The ways that thousands of ideas work together is infinitely fascinating. When a story rhymes, when it foreshadows and climaxes, when its parts are in harmony, it's just beautiful. And that's where I identified the second issue. I try too hard to accomplish this in my own work. Like, I presume, most artists, I want my work to be great. I don't know if it is by the end, but it's always the goal, to create something meaningful. For the parts in a work to be in harmony, and for the main concept to be done justice. And so I plan and think and trade in momentum for added pressure. I'm hesitant to just trust my intuition and make the thing. I'm scared to waste the potential I see in the idea. Whenever there's not an obvious path forward, I stop and try to come up with a better way. And that happens constantly. Even now, I'm not immune. This is the third time I'm recording this, when actually the first recording was perfectly fine, and I could have used that instead. Up to a point, that's fine. But if I keep indulging in this impulse, second-guessing my intuition, I will be running in circles until I burn out. And this project too is abandoned. So, I practice following my instinct, my intuition, trusting my gut. There's no other way except through the fear, sacrificing all other possibilities, and moving toward one. Stumbling along the way, fixing mistakes, coming up with solutions, pivoting, if I must. And inevitably, the work will be flawed. And that's good. Flaws provide identity. Definite features are what make an artwork what it is. But that fondness for the totality of a work, I feel, can only come when it is declared to be finished. To get to that point, one must act more than think, because losing momentum is more deadly than whatever imperfection remains in the end. Finishing a work can happen organically, but more often it's a decision. I'm happy with the final drawing. I simplified it a bit from the original sketch to get a more coherent composition. Originally, there was supposed to be more of these leviathans lurking in the distance, and maybe something going on in the sky. I also had to erase and redraw the mounds of smoke quite a few times. The final piece may not completely live up to the images I had in my head at the start, but it's the best I could do to make it a reality. And that's more than enough. What I just described could maybe be summarized as perfectionism, a term all too familiar for a lot of us. But really, I think it's many different concepts with their own associated habits and thought patterns and their own solutions, though very much overlapping and part of the same complex. Perfectionism isn't a useful label by itself, I feel. The meaning behind it must be discovered through exploration, honest reflection, and plenty of error. Every artist and creative person, every person who makes something, has a different version of this massive meaning in their mind. And I think that applies to pretty much any concept or cliché you can think of. The meaning needs to be experienced directly, woven together and made vivid. And then a concept or phrase can tap into that and act as reminders. There's more to labels than just exact definitions. They act as shorthands for a whole swath of memory and lived experience. Perfectionism, shiny object syndrome, done is better than perfect, overthinking, analysis paralysis, connecting the dots going back, and my favorite, hesitation is defeat.